All right, here we go. Episode 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 months into this thing, episode 10. How you feeling, Nelson?
Feeling good. What about yourself?
I'm good. So this is an episode that is interesting for both of us. So like we said before, we wanted to start this podcast to inform and educate hoopers growing up into the game and make sure they have certain game that we didn't grow up with. The other part, which is kind of more fun and entertaining, half to where they will, have the barbershop debates and talks that, we always have. And today's gonna be the episode, man. So um we were thinking, man, they say the mid range is dead, and most stuff, nobody just dies on accident. Like it's usually somebody committing a crime, homicide or whatever, to kill something. That's kind of a morbid start to this episode, but I promise you, it's not that dark. But the question we're gonna think about for today is: did Steph Curry kill the mid range? It's just an interesting thought to have because he is the face or one of the main faces of the league right now, and he's been championed as the best shooter of all time. So somebody had to kill the mid range, man, and was Steph Curry the culprit at hand? So I want to get your thoughts on that, man. Do you think Steph Curry is to blame for the mid range being dead right now?
I do definitely think it has a lot to do with Steph, but I don't want to say Steph is the main reason for that. But like Steph is a huge reason. I'm not gonna lie about that. Steph is a huge reason the mid range is not like as prominent because obviously him being the best shooter in the world and the way he changed the game of basketball to shift more to the three ball more than to being about getting into the paint or getting to the mid range. Um, of course, we all know how much he influenced the basketball world when it comes to the 3-pointer. But if I really had to pinpoint a reason for if I had to really pinpoint a reason for the reason, if I had to pinpoint a reason for the recent increase in threes and the like minimization of the mid range, it would have to be more towards the rule changes from those times. Like we all know, like the 80s, 90s, the like real rough, rugged, physical basketball that they played back then, hand checking,
Yeah.
grabbing each other, like knocking each other out the air, and it'd be like a regular call. It's not a flagrant. It's like I used to could like the Bad Boys Pistons in the 80s used to knock Michael Jordan out the air, and it was just like there's no such thing as a flagrant foul. It's like, all right, Mike, get up 2 free throws.
Yep.
It's like that used to be that's how it used to be. But now if Andre Drummond knocks Steph Curry out the air, Andre Drummond not coming back to this game. Like you got to get up out of here, buddy. Like we're not doing that no more. You know what I'm saying? So I think the changes in the rules, like not allowing me to put my hands on you as a defender and stuff like that, or really even guard. I really can't even guard you chest up. I have to stay positioned, like hands out, chest back, everything. If I put my chest forward into you, that's considered blocking. I'm pushing you forward. So those rule changes make it a lot easier to get that shot off because now it's like, now instead of me pressuring you and like touching you, make sure you can't get a clean look. Now it's like I give you a little bit of daylight. And Steph Curry obviously has been like the pinnacle of like, don't give me space.
Yeah.
It's like you playing great defense, like you playing perfectly legal defense in position right where you need to be, but it's for Steph Curry, that's too much space. So now, and his shot release so quick, you never gonna block it. How many times you ever seen Steph Curry get blocked on the jump? Unless it was like last second, they knew he was gonna throw it up.
Rarely, if ever.
Yeah, exactly, because his shot so quick, like one of the quickest releases ever that I've ever seen. So now it's like he dribbles. He done master shooting off the dribble. He's master shooting off screens, while moving and everything. So now it's like, all right, I already can't put my hands on you, pressure you while you're dribbling. I have to give you a little bit of space. Now you're gonna run around the screen, catch the ball, go the other way, cross back. I can't touch you to make sure you don't get away from me. Now, guess what? Too much space. Shot release too quick. Shot going up. It's just that little sliver of daylight is enough for somebody like Steph Curry. And so the rule changes has really been, I feel like, is the main reason behind that recent shift from the mid-range to the three. Because back in the days, of the 80s, I had to get by you to shoot. I had to get by you. Because you could already hand check me. So if I get by you, pull up real quick before you get back in position, good mid-range shot. But that ain't the case no more. I'm going for the three. I got the daylight for the three, so I'm going for the three. And I think that's one of the main reasons for that.
Okay. So kind of like what you talked about, man, like it's been a huge change in the game over the years. And so I'm gonna start with the 70s a little bit, because I think in 76, I think, was the merger between the ABA and NBA, somewhere around that time. And starting off with Dr. J, with the prime time of the league being born. He was the face of the NBA and played a big role with it. But the league took a huge leap after that with Bird and Magic. So you look at how the league was constructed during that time. You needed a point guard, and you needed a solid wing, and you needed a big. If you look at the history of the champions during that time, you had mainly the Lakers. You had Magic Johnson at the point, James Worthy at the wing, Kareem at the big. You had the Celtics. You had Kevin McHale as the main big, even though you had Robert Parrish there as well. Larry Bird as the focal point as the wing. Then you had Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge as your guards. And looking at the 76ers, you had not Mookie Blaylock, who was it? Maurice Cheeks, he was point guard at the time. You had Dr. J as the wing, and you had Moses Malone as the big. So the construction of those teams at the time was a very good point guard to facilitate and get everybody involved. A good to great wing, and you had a dominant big man. That was 80s and 70s, even back before that. Then transition to the 90s. You had a little gap there with 2 years with the Bad Boys Pistons from, was it 89 and 90 or 90, 91? One of those two. So
it was right before 90 because that's when Mike took over.
Yeah, so it's 89 and 90.
Talk about the Bad Boys Pistons? It was like the late 80s. Yeah.
So they won in 89.
Mike won 91, 92, 93.
Yeah, so they won
they won 2 rings, 89, 90.
Yeah. And then 91 was the Jordan shift. So the Bad Boys Pistons came in, did their thing, and kind of interrupted that little gap there. And honestly, they played a big role with that too, because they were ahead of their time. They had Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars as the front runners of their team. So that was a nice jump for them to have a guard dominant team surrounded by defense, basically. That wasn't a league shift at the time. It was a important standpoint at the time, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So you had the 90s, dominated by Jordan, where they shift the focus from a point wing big combo to having a solid wing play. So you had the Jordan era ran by guards who could play well, shoot and defend mainly, dominant wings, and bigs that could do their job. Basically they were the same thing as the guards. So you had Ron Harper, Steve Kerr, John Paxson as the guards, focal pointed by Jordan and Pippen at the wings. Then you had Luke Longley, Horace Grant, Rodman, and Kukoc as your bigs. So if you look at the format of the league during that time as well, you still had a couple bigs. It's still a great era for bigs, but during that time, the NBA is a copycat league, so they were trying to copy what the Bulls had. So they were trying to copy that as well as having the dominant wing. So you had Clyde Drexler doing his thing. You had Run TMC for a few years. Reggie Miller was doing his thing around that time. So it's a little bit more wing heavy. And I think that birthed the era that we grew up with the 2000s to 2010, the Kobe, Tracy McGrady, AI, Gilbert Arenas, Vince Carter, to where you needed a wing that would score, dominate the ball, and wouldn't need, like you said before, with Jordan having not needing to get set up on his own. So I need a point guard to get me set up. I needed a point guard just give me the ball and get out the way. And you still need a big to still have that guard presence and still have the big presence. And so you had the Shaq and Kobe era. You had the still in transition period from that, but you had the Tim Duncan with whoever was around, because that time they
On the
weren't
bar
winning,
and Manu.
but they weren't there yet. Not early. Let's talk about the Kobe and Shaq era. So you still
Oh,
had,
Tim Duncan, David Robinson.
yeah. So you still had the bigs. That was still big Spurs. They didn't shift into the wing big combo yet. So early 2000s, that was the Kobe and Shaq era. So you had that, and you had the Rockets try to replicate that with T-Mac and Yao. That's all I can think of right now. Then, like you said, you had the Spurs come in with Manu, Tony, and Duncan. And so throughout that time, you had people trying to replicate the Kobe and Shaq dominant duo, big wing.
Hito Turkoglu and Dwight Howard. I give you one.
They tried to replicate it with that.
People forget how good Hito Turkoglu was. Hito Turkoglu was a bucket.
And he was ahead of his time too, because he was like 6'10".
Yeah, he was. If he play right now, he'll be kind of close to what what's his name? Dang, 6'10" wing, can shoot. He not KD obviously, but he'll be kind of close to similar what we think about
kind of like Luka a little bit, without as ball dominant.
Similar to Luka.
Like a less ball dominant Luka. Yeah. Because he was basically a point forward that could score. He could shoot the ball well enough to, at least during that time he shoot the ball well enough. So like you said, they try to replicate that in many different ways.
Yeah, I was gonna say, remember Hito hit that shot before LeBron hit the shot heard around the world with the buzzer beater against Orlando. Hito hit the shot right before that. And it was like, oof. Yeah. The game was over. And then Bron hit his amazing shot. But that I just want to throw that little 2 cents in. But go ahead and finish your point.
Yeah. So during the era that we grew up with, you needed a wing and a big. If not both, one or the other. Yeah. So you still had the Tim Duncan era. He was holding it down for a few years by himself. Ray Allen was holding it down by himself. He had Rashard Lewis for a few years in Seattle. And he went to Milwaukee. It was Bogut, and then during this time, the late 2010s, around the era, you start seeing a decline in the big man and an increase in the guard force. So 2010s to now, the most recent 10 years, you start seeing a push for more guard and wing play. So that's when LeBron really came into play. D-Wade came into play more. D-Wade and Shaq was still the Kobe and Shaq, replicate.
True.
You started seeing the Steph Curry, Dame, Trey, Kyrie's of the world come out to play more. So that's how the generations kind of went through of how the game has been played as far as how GMs constructed it. So I think that was a part of it. And so when you look at how that's constructed, you got to think about how the game's being played now from our eyes. So you see that you have a 7-footer in the game now. I have two options because I'm not going to keep going against Shaq down low. Like you said before, the game was I drive in, Jordan getting his head cut off. To where, okay, I'm going to go small ball like they did with the Suns, Steve Nash, Mark Stoudemire, 7 seconds or less. That was kind of the birthplace for what the game is now. So you look at that to where 7 seconds or less, and they're scoring like this, I can't afford to have a slow 7-footer in the game. I'm going to take the big 7-footer out and put somebody else in that can guard Mark Stoudemire. So we're running now. And so with the way we grew up playing the game as a guard, at some point in time, you're going to get tired of getting your shot blocked from these layups. So you're either going to develop that mid-range pull-up or develop a floater, and so you can still score without having a three-point shot. And so I think that as you look at how it's constructed, the basketball IQ kicked in to where, okay, I can't score against a 7-footer. I'm going to stop mid-range. You take that 7-footer out now, so now my game has made more sense when you drive in now. And so I think that kind of shifted the game some to where the roster construction played a big role with how we saw the game and how to score. And so I think that played a big role, at least from a common sense standpoint, the basketball IQ common sense standpoint. If there's no big in the game, we're taught to drive straight in, get the easiest bucket possible. So how do you feel about that, man? I think that was not the biggest role, but one of the main things that played a role with
it. I see what you're saying, but like at the same time, it's like, okay, you said the bigs were more dominant, and then early on, you know, that you was a small guy, you came into the paint, you know, they take you out. So I kind of feel that part of it, but as we went away from the rules like the early 2000s, later on into the close to the 2010s, like we was drifting away from the rules or where you could just take somebody out, but the bigs was still kind of relevant. But I just don't think. I think the thing is, like you said, all right, if they got big 7-footers in the game, so now I got to stop mid, and if they take the 7-foot out, I can go all the way to the rim. But I don't think that's not a guaranteed thing. You know what I'm saying? Like Amari Stoudemire still can block the average point guard's layup. You know what I'm saying? I don't think guards. I think guys like LeBron and Dwayne Wade or somebody may look at like, oh, okay, the big not in the game, I can get all the way to the rack. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that's the difference between a mid and a layup or a 3-pointer and a mid-ranger. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like I don't know if you ever heard the story about I think Gilbert Arenas told this on his podcast, or where close to the fourth quarter he get a nod to his coach, like he gives a nod to his coach, and his coach takes out Anderson Varejao, and because they took out Anderson Varejao, Gilbert Arenas' coach takes out Brendan Haywood for the Wizards, and now LeBron is just like attacking the rim, going full force at the rim. So that kind of makes sense for guys like him that can like bulldoze their way to the rim. But I don't think guards look at it that way. Like I don't think Mike was looking at Patrick Ewing and was like, all right, we need to. I'm gonna stop for this mid-ranger because Patrick Ewing in the paint. Mike was trying to dunk on Patrick Ewing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he did. Yeah. Scotty too. So I think that's the thing is like it may be slightly easier because like you don't have a 7-foot in the game, but 7-footers been getting attacked on, been getting poked on, things like that. I just think if I have the, like I was saying, the rule change, me having the ability to hand check you, you don't have the ability to just get a clean shot off now. Unless you just get it wide open off a screen or something like that, off ball screen. But like if you got the ball in your hand and I can hand check you, it's hard to get a quick look like that, an easy look. But like case in point, we all remember the video of Allen Iverson crossing over Michael Jordan when he played for the Wizards, right? It's like that. Mike got his hand on. No, I thought it was with the Wizards at that time.
I promise you, I looked at it earlier today. It was still the Bulls.
Oh, okay. Well, you know that.
Yeah.
Mike got his hand like on like AI stunt basically, or like right next to his chest, trying to wait on the crossover. When AI hit him with the pop out the double cross, Mike switched hands, put the other hand on him because in his mind he think he fell cross back and he can like guide him with that other hand. What AI do? Bam, a long crossover, the long AI crossover. Now Mike bite on it because it's like, oh, he going this way. Bam, now he beat off the cross. AI pull up over the top. Easy. Like, because now with the hand check, my point is with the hand check, I have to create my shot. It's like I have to rock you to sleep, make a move, now I can shoot. Yeah. I'm not doing that from the 3 though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be able to rock you to sleep, cross for the 3. I'm gonna rock you to sleep, get by you with one of these moves. I'm either gonna hesitate or I'm gonna in and out you, whatever I got to do to create a little bit of space, and I'm taking the mid range because that's I can get that over you now. Like I can create space for the mid. Now it's like with the changes, I can't put my hands on you. I have to give you some space. Now you got a little bit of space off the rip. Like if I start guarding you on ball, I not say I can't press you, but you're gonna start out with a little bit of space in the first place. Now if you come off a screen or something, now you definitely gonna have space unless I'm grabbing you. Because back in the day, they grabbing guys shorts coming off the screen, something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
If I can't do that, it's like I'm forced to give you some kind of daylight. And it's not to say it ain't gonna be tough. Like the average person can't just, throw something up off a screen. But guys have realized that now. It's like the game is like the basketball evolution. We see, oh, okay, if I come off this, if I make this action off the screen, I'm gonna have this look 9 times out of 10. And that's what we work on. So it's like you were trying to say, like I know you done told some of your players, like in the game, you're gonna get the ball here, you can do this, you're gonna be here, and you're gonna be able to do this. Everything we work towards what we're gonna do in the game. I know Steph Curry was probably in the gym with his dad. His dad was a great shooter in his time. He probably was in his dad. I know his dad had told him, hey, son, when you come out the screen, you're gonna have this look right here, be ready to shoot it. And then they working it off the drill every time. Cone work, skill work, easy. And so that turned into becoming Steph Curry. I mean, obviously he had to put a tremendous amount of work in and some God-given talent, but we see what Steph Curry did with it after the rule changes, and now it's like the world realized, like, okay, this is the way now. Then we see Steph winning, we see Steph unanimous MVP. Realize, like, dang, this is the way of success. Like, oh, okay, I can pull up from this deep, and if it's going in, ain't nobody gonna say nothing to me. Word, say no more. I'm gonna work on this 40-footer. I'm gonna work on these logo threes, all that. And that kind of started with Gilbert Arenas. I think Gilbert Arenas first got to take deep threes because he knows the defense not guarding him that far out. So now I'm shooting out there from deep. Now it's like, okay, you got to pick me up at half court. Like,
yep.
You got to. Guys like Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, shoot, Kevin Durant, James Harden, you got to guard me from almost half court or I'm pulling this thing. Because that's too much space. And I'm willing to shoot this. And so I just think that's the main thing, bro. Like you said, the bigs might have something to do with it, but I think it's more of a, all right, you can't put your hands on me. I'm probably gonna get all the way to the rim type stuff, or I'm gonna take this three. And anybody that ever guarded a great shooter, it's hard to guard a good shooter if he got a little quickness to him, because you gotta be so close to him every time. Now it's like I'm closing out too hard, and then on the hard closeout, rip through, gone. Pump fake out of jump, gone. And how it is, man. Like anybody that got to guard a good shooter, like it. A good shooter can get to the paint better than most paint drivers because I done ran out of him and jumped off the pump fake because I know how good he can shoot. Now all of a sudden, JJ Redick getting to the rim. So it's just one of them things, man. Like the rule changes really affected the way we play defense. And now the 3-ball is the open shot rather than me having to work to get to the mid-range and create space.
I think that the rule change was a big thing. Would you count analytics as part of the rules? Like the stats and stuff, would you count that as part of being the rule change in your eyes?
Like, do I think they looked at the analytics and realized they need to change the rules?
So when you are because the Rockets were the face of the analytics shift. I don't know if they were the first ones. I don't think they were the first ones, but I think they were the face of it, where they went through the stats and they looked at how the quality of a percentage of a shot. So they looked at the 3-point shot. Get on the wrong. They had the 3-point shot being the highest quality shot you can get, and also a layup being the highest quality shot you can get. So at some point they discovered that a mid-range was an inefficient shot, and they had the brilliant idea to say, look, why not make the higher percentage of our shots, as much as we can, make those be the highest quality, quote unquote, highest quality shots. It would be a 3-point shot or a layup. And so, like I said before, the GM construction played a role with that. So they looked at that and said, okay, by us having a big man in the game that cannot shoot a 3 and cannot drive to the goal, let's remove him from that. So they took him out. They put in another guy who could either shoot the 3 or drive to the goal. That's kind of where the running gun Suns came in. Where Amari said Amari wasn't a 3-point shooter, but he had 4 guys around him who were great 3-point shooters, or at least good enough at that time. And so by them, I guess I wouldn't count that as rules now I think about it, but by them having that construction of small ball that would take out a big man, like the Houston Rockets took that, the Phoenix Suns blueprint, and they put that on steroids to where they said, okay, we're going to have 6'7", 6'8", and below throughout the whole game now. So you have 6'7", PJ Tucker playing center, where you have Trevor Ariza playing power forward, Gerald Green playing small forward, James Harden and Chris Paul or Westbrook as the guards now. And that's a very weird thing to look at. You know, the Suns used to have Boris Diaw at 6'8" as their center. Kurt Thomas was a center at 6'9", but he was more traditional big. Amar Stoudemire was 6'9", 6'10". Shawn Marion was 6'7", 6'8". And so you look at how the rosters were constructed, they were built to be more of a running gun deal. Tyson Chandler can't run like that. KG was 7 foot, but he still wasn't, he's no Anthony Davis like he is now. You know what I mean? Giannis like they are now. Like, he's great, don't get me wrong. Definitely during his time, but compare him to what we see right now, it's a slight difference. So I think that the analytics played a huge role with that too, where the GMs looked at that and they started constructing the rosters. I think the rule changes also played a big role with that too, because like you said, you can't handshake me now. So that's where the rule change of cuffing and being able to the gather step and the 0 step and all these other little minute details that are added now. The James Harden step back became a bigger thing. You had the double step back, so I step back, another step back. All the questions now, you see every other train on Instagram or whatever talking about, is this a travel? Is this a travel? Is this a travel? Because all the rule changes opened it up to where creativity and scoring was allowed to happen more. The bigs aren't the sexiest thing to look at when you are trying to score. Nobody wants to see catch, post up for 5 minutes like Charles Barkley used to do, and then finally go score. So I think the rule changes with that played a role in how the game has shifted now. So you look at how, like we said before, 90s and back, even early 2000s and back, it was more, you had some type of post game with your big man. So you throw the ball down to Tim Duncan, he used to go to work on the post or turn face up off the backboard mid-range. So I think the rule changes there as far as allowing guards more freedom and creativity played a big role to a certain extent with the mid-range being more obsolete, because that boogie that you used to have, you see, like you said, AI used to dance with the ball in the mid-range. I'm going to dance, but I'm either going to dance and step back now like James Harden for the 3, or I'm going to dance and get to the goal or for layup, because it makes no sense for me to do all this dancing and go mid-range. So I think that the rules played a role with it, but I think a little bit more of it had to do with the analytics part of it. So what do you say about that, brother?
I say, I still think the rule changes. Part of the rule changes is them step backs that you were talking about, the step backs, the 0 steps, all that. Like, part of that is rule changes too. But we can call that the James Harden rule. But I kind of want to stick to like talking about like the hand checking and stuff like that, because like I don't think people realize how difficult it is to score when you get hand check. Like, go to a park nowadays and hand check somebody and see what they say. Like, dude, hand checking. Like, dudes cannot handle that nowadays, bro. Like, they will get mad. You'll darn near start a fight over hand checking if you do it consistently. Because like, you can't dribble. It's hard to dribble for some guys. So like, I think that when it came to that, I had to really make an effort to get by you. And like, I'm not gonna make this extra effort to get by dude hand checking me, and then also go down here and make a layup on the big if I'm a small guy. If I'm somebody like Mike or Scotty who can dunk on somebody, Braun, any of those guys who could get downhill and just finish on anybody, like, I'm not worried about no big, then you can do that. But I don't think AI was that guy. Like, I think of AI when I think about this kind of rule. Because like, I feel like AI was the kind of guy you had to hand check.
Yeah.
Like with his handles and stuff. I don't think if AI played today with his handle, he'll be Kyrie Irving. It'd be similar to Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But like, think about how great Kyrie Irving is now. Kyrie can go off 30 or 40 some nights because he dancing with you. I might take this if you back up too far. I'm dance with you. You step back for the mid. I might dance with you, cross you, get to the rim, reverse that thing. He got all this perfect touch on the ball. I don't think bigs being in the game is stopping that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the Lakers having Andre Drummond is gonna stop Kyrie Irving from getting the lead or Anthony Davis. So, I don't think Joel Embiid in the game is stopping Kevin Durant from getting all the way to the rim. Like, even though these guys can take the mid, and they will sometimes, like, I just don't think a big is stopping. I think they're accustomed to bigs being in the game either way because they've just been on that level. Because like they had to play some bigs. It's not like bigs are never in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But and every team got at least a 7-footer. Like he might not start, but he gonna play some good minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And every team got a 7-footer. It's not. I don't think nobody's looking at it like, all right, they still got Tyson Chandler in the game. I can't really get all the way to the paint unless it's just open. Or they got Dwight Howard in the game. I can't get all the way to the rim. No, I don't think nobody's looking at that. Like, and like I do this nowadays on pickup. Like, so I know if I'm doing it on my level, I know they're doing it on their level. Guys like Bron and them, they're not even looking at their first defender. The first defender is irrelevant. Like,
Yep.
I know you can't guard. I'm looking at the guy behind you. Like, if I post you up, like Shaq said this. Shaq said he catch the ball, he gonna take one dribble that ain't really for nothing. It's just to see if they're gonna come down with the double because they're not gonna double the post till you dribble.
Yep.
So they can take your dribble away.
Yep.
So he said the first dribble he look around, see if the double coming. Then the second one, he finna put that shoulder into you, you gonna move. You gonna feel
Mm-hmm.
it. And now I'm finna, now you know, this Shaq Diesel we talking about now, I'm finna kill you. But
Yep.
it's like, it's one of them things, man. Like, I'm not even, like, the help is the only thing I'm even really looking at. So it's just one of them things like, okay, like nobody right here is gonna stop me. So I just need to see if the paint is open, period. It ain't even about like who in the game. It's like, can I get to the rim? If somebody already sitting in help, like I know I ain't gonna be able to get to the rim behind past them or something, or is the paint open and I'm gonna just have to make the move to get to the rim. So I think it's just that is one of them things. And now I can't handshake somebody like Bron. Crazy. Bron gonna get in your chest, bump you with that shoulder, you gonna move, and he gonna finish with either hand. So either your big finna come across the paint. That's why they got rule by defense 3 seconds, so you can't just sit a 7-footer under the rim all day. That take away from the game. Like imagine if Shaq could just sit in the paint and then the other big can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And if the big like come try to post Shaq up, guess what? You're not gonna get the ball because nobody gonna be able to throw you the ball from 3-point line all the way down to the middle of the paint. It's not gonna reach that far, especially you holding off somebody as big as Shaq. That's part of the rules. It's like, okay, like if the help is already sitting there in the lane in my path, I'm not getting there. It's just one of them things.
So I think that for kind of going back to what I said when I first point with the gym construction and how, so look at how the old Rockets were set up when they had Dream and they had Ralph Sampson. You had 2 7-footers that were shot blockers, right? Usually as a guard, I'm not trying to go up against them. So mid-range was a necessary tool to have. Like I'm not trying to keep going in and figure out ways to get around 7-footers. You had Tim Duncan and Big Robson. I'm not trying to keep going to 7-footers the whole time. I'm not doing that. If I'm AI, if I'm Tim Hardaway, Isaiah Thomas, I'm gonna get in where I fit in with finishing, but for the most part, I'm pulling up mid-range. And I think that construction of how, like I said, during that time shift, you start seeing less dynamic duo bigs in the game to where, you know, the setup used to be you had a 7-foot center and you had like a 6'10" and up power forward right behind them. Because we used to have KG at the 4, what's his name? Dirk Nowitzki at the 4. You had Eric Dampier at the 5 for bully ball. You had Kendrick Perkins at the 5 for bully ball. So you always had that. You can go back to the Spurs when you had Tim Duncan at the 4 sometimes, and you had Nazir Muhammad and the plethora of bigs that he had backing him up. Even Kurt Thomas at some point. So you had a finesse 4, but a big 5, but they were still 6'10" up 7 foot. So like you said, hand check. I had to get through this hand checking, but then I had to see 2 7-footers out there behind that rim. I'm stopping shot. I'm stopping and popping mid range. I'm not finna keep bullying my body up to get beat up by these 7-footers. I'm just tired of it. So I think how the construction was set up of 2 7-footers or a 7-footer and a 6'10" guy or a 6'11" guy changed the game as far as shoot for 3. Do I shoot mid range? Do I shoot layups? So okay, you take a 7-footer out, it's not gonna bully me up. And kind of with the rule change, like you were saying, how the flagrant over time became a different thing. Like I said, flagrant now will be a personal foul back in the day. So that rule change, I think, played a bigger role with it, but that also shifted the GM construction. So if I can't foul you the same way, why would I have a guy on my roster that can't give those fouls? So you stop seeing the chief of police, you stop seeing the Charles Oakleys that were only there to give hard fouls, to touch you up a little bit. You saw less of those guys over time. You start seeing more guys who actually had to have a skill to be on his team and play on the floor. So you start seeing more guys who were able to at least shoot a corner 3, at least 3 and D, a Bruce Bowen type, the Patrick Beverly, if he can shoot threes better. You know what I mean? PJ Tucker is a great example. You start seeing more and more guys who were skilled and had some level of skill to the game rather than Mr. Foul on my roster and Mr. Bully Ball down low. So I think that roster construction played a big role with that versus the rule change. I think it kind of goes hand in hand, but if I had to pick one of those two, I think the rule change was a step back versus the roster construction. If that makes sense.
Okay, but all right, let me ask you this. What was the last championship team to not have an all-star power forward or center? Even if they were smaller. Let's just think about the last team that won without an all-star power forward or center. We kind of say Toronto with Pascal Siakam last year, or 2 years ago, I mean, but Pascal Siakam is an all-star now. Like that year he wasn't, but he is the following year. And the Warriors, you still got Draymond Green, even though he's an undersized big, he guards big. He guards bigger than his size. So he guarding other teams big. Before that, we had Cleveland with Kevin Love, all-star big, even if you don't want to consider him being that great. Before that, we had San Antonio with Tim Duncan. Before that, we had Miami with Chris Bosh. Before Miami, we had Dirk Nowitzki. Before then, we had
Powell with Lakers.
Powell with Kobe. Before then, we had KG and Kendrick Perkins with the Celtics. It's like there's no team that have not had at least one all-star big. Even if he ain't the biggest big, he's a power forward or a center. He guarding the other team power forward or center. And so, so that's why I don't give that the credit. Like, there's always going to be a big, playing on the championship team. Like, you still need size. And I'm going to talk about that on one of my individual segments later on in the future, where we still need that size. We still need that presence of a big man. So I don't think you brought up like the PJ Tuckers of the world and things like that. It's like, where did the Rockets go playing that small ball stuff? They had PJ Tucker at the 5 and they getting bounced down in the first round. The Suns got not Hall of Fame. I mean, he's Hall of Fame, but I was going to say MVP Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire playing small ball, and they're not getting to the finals. This is like one of the things, like that small ball stuff. I don't believe in that. Like, because anybody that watches the NBA regularly knows in playoffs, the game slows down. So the fast-paced play that you had earlier, we slowing all of that. The playoff, it's just, I really can't explain why it even is, because I just don't understand. But the playoffs slow the game down. It's like we're not doing this running. You're gonna have to learn some half-court offense, and we're gonna take our time doing everything. And we're gonna guard. And playoffs, they gonna guard. Like, the defensive intensity is intensified in the playoffs. It's like guys not just letting you blow by them. Guys gonna come over and hit. Because that'd be like the main thing in the NBA. It's like, all right, guys might be tired. Hey, we done been on a road trip. We done played 4 or 5 on the road. Guy blow by me, he just blow by me. Or if I'm supposed to be in help, let him have that layup, let him have that dunk. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm not trying to get dunked on tonight type stuff. And so they let him have it. But in the playoffs, like, no, we going all out. You gonna guard. We're gonna sit down, we guard, we're gonna bring out them weaknesses in your game. Or you got PJ Tucker at the 5. All right, PJ, you gonna guard Andre Drummond tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight you guard 7 foot, 260, 270. We're gonna see how you handle it. It's just I don't believe in the small ball thing. So I don't think we'll ever truly get rid of the big man. Like, even bigs that aren't necessarily like there'll never be another Shaq, of course. There'll never be like another David Robinson.
Yeah.
Those bigs, that's not the era we live in anymore. Your big do need to be somewhat skilled. You can't just sit on the block no more. But at the same time, you still need size for defense, size for rebound, and all that. Like, and then the Rockets. Let's take the Rockets for example. With their small ball era, that they had no big, no nothing, and then nobody over 6'7" in the whole lineup. And wonder why they the last defense in the league. Like, and folks were talking about Mike D'Antoni. It was like, he don't coach defense. He an offensive coach, stuff like that. Like, defense still win championships, and you need a little bit of size for that. And so
I think with that,
that's why I can't give all that credit.
I think so.
Go ahead.
Let's go to the past 10 years, right? So 2010 was Lakers back to back. Lakers, Mavericks, Heat
back to back.
Yep. Who won it? Spurs,
Warriors,
Cavs, Warriors. Cleveland.
Yep.
LA. Toronto, LA. So like you said, look at the rosters of the bigs there. So we had Pau Gasol, skilled finesse big.
Right.
Who was next? Dirk, skilled finesse big. You look at the Heat, Chris Bosh. You look at who's next? Warriors. Draymond Green was the first. You had Tim Duncan and who else was there?
Then the Warriors.
So Warriors.
That was Tony, Manu, and Tim.
So yeah, they won one at that time. That was one. So that was mainly the Kawhi year.
And Kawhi Leonard was there.
That was the Kawhi year. So
you
look at Tim Duncan was the big there. You look at the Warriors, where you had Draymond Green as the main big, the focal big, the all-star big, like you were saying.
Yep.
And you look at the Cavs, Kevin Love, Warriors again, Draymond Green. You look at Toronto, Siakam. And you look at Lakers with Anthony Davis, right? None of those bigs, besides Tim, like the KG, Tim Duncan, Pau Gasol, they fit the old generation that we used to have. But as you progress forward from the Warriors on, except Kevin Love, those guys are the new era of big men. Draymond Green's not a shot blocker. They had JaVale McGee a year. They had Mo Spates during that time. They had another big, Jermaine O'Neal, old school big. So during that time, you start seeing a shift in how the bigs are playing. You're not having a solidified shot blocker in the game. Now, I'm talking about starting five. I'm talking about actually who's finishing the game. The Heat years, Chris Bosh was the 5. It was Bosh, LeBron, Wade, Ray Allen, Mario Chalmers. Bosh was the 5. The running gun Spurs, Amar Stoudemire was that 5. Even the Spurs that we talked about championship.
The Spurs?
No, listen. Tim Duncan was the 5 for that team, right?
No, I'm saying you said the Spurs. You said the Spurs and then Amar Stoudemire. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, my bad. Suns, my bad.
Yeah.
So the running gun Suns, Amar Stoudemire was the 5 then. You look at the Spurs, they had Tim Duncan as the 5. And Tim Pop got killed, remember, because game 6 when Bosh had that putback, the rebound, he got the Ray Allen, he took Duncan out. He got killed for that, right? So
True.
I'm not saying the big man, as far as construction of it, is dead. I'm saying look at in totality of it. So you used to have David Robinson, 7 foot, Tim Duncan, 7 foot, to 6'8" small forward, to 6'6" two guard, to the 6'2" point guard. Now you're taking one of those bigs out and you put another 6'8" guy in there. Spread the floor. So if you're going pick and roll, I'm going to have my point guard up top. More than likely, I'm going to take that one shot blocker now. So I'm going to take Tim Duncan, move him to the pick and roll now. I'm going to take Pau Gasol. Used to have the two bigs with Bynum and Gasol. So you take Bynum out, Gasol's your 5 now. I'm running pick and roll with my 5 to get Gasol up here. So off that pick and roll, if he switches, it's me and Gasol one-on-one. Barbecue chicken alert every time. 9 out of 10 times, they're getting killed. Or he's gonna try to hedge and try to get back over that screen. But how fast things are going, that's going to take up too much time to try to get back over that screen. That's why everybody's switching now. So by the time he's trying to get back over that screen, I already put up for the 3. So by me having the speed advantage of my 5 being technically a 4 now, those switches become quicker. So you trying to put your traditional big in, it's not going to work now. So they took that 5 out and put that 4 in the 5 spot. So now you have the floor spread. So now I don't need a mid-range shot when I can either pick and roll, lob to my big, or I can finish myself, or I'm going to stop and pull this 3. So I think that's where the roster construction played a role with shifting out from needing that mid-range. Now, overall, I believe that the mid-range happens here and there, but I think having that big taken out now to where you used to looking at paint and seeing 2 7-footers. Now I don't see one. How can I get that one big out the paint? Either I can move that that person he's guarding to a 3-point line, or I can move him to me with pick and roll. So then GMs got smarter, or coaches got smarter with that and reconstructed how the lineups went. So instead of having my big down low for the dump off or the drop off box, like I like to call it, I have him come to top for the pick and roll now. Pick and roll, if he stays, ISO ball, or I give it to my big. Or we switch, still ISO ball, and I kill him. So I think that's where the roster construction comes into play, where now you have to look at how you're lining up the rosters. So do I keep 2 bigs in now? No, I have to take 1 out. So you're going from 2 shot blockers down to 1. Now in the guards mind, like we were taught, I'm eating that all day. That's barbecue chicken alert from beginning to end. Now, like you said before, with Pippen and Jordan, it's not going to deter me as much. But if 10 times I drive to the goal, half of those I only see 1 big versus 2, my odds of driving in are a lot higher. So that's how I see it, at least from my perspective as a guard, from the shot blocking roster construction, from having 2 shot blockers. I'm not seeing Dream and Ralph Sampson anymore. I'm not going in there. I'm stopping mid-range, or I'm staying out for 3. You take one of those guys out, now my odds of me wanting to drive in is a lot higher now. Now you take that plus how the roster constructed is now with more 3-point shooting. I only have 2 options now. I'm either going to stop for 3 because you're going to want to stay back because you come too far out, I'm driving past you. Or you sit back far enough, I'm going to shoot it. Or I'm going to get it to my big off the pick and roll. So I think that's where the roster construction comes in. I'm not saying the big man is completely taken out. I'm saying the percentage of how I see the game as a guard coming off that pick and roll or driving in now. I'm driving in. I want to see 1 shot blocker. Oh, you made my job 10% easier now. So I'm saying the odds of me looking at how to score changes from 1 big man and 1 shot blocker to 2 now is different. So that's why I see the roster change being a little bit more important than the rules.
I mean, you make some good points. I ain't gonna lie, but I guess my last thoughts on it. I just say, when it comes to things like this, like when I say like the rule changes and guys get into the lane, like I can't knock Steph Curry out the air. And Steph get to the paint. Everybody knows Steph got the high flow layup, or the high floaters, whatever. Like his layups are crazy, his package is crazy. Guys are also more skilled now. Kyrie Irving layup package crazy. Zach LaVine layup package crazy. Stuff like that. It's more players, more athletic players that can dunk on you, take all just dunk nowadays than it was back then. And so, and we all know the scoring. The scoring is like the percentage of scores we have nowadays is way higher than when we like guys were getting handshake. Like, all right, so I got the stats for this.
Mhm.
So in the 2010-11 season, 20 players averaged 20 points a game or higher. 20 players out the whole 30-team league. I mean, some teams didn't even have nobody averaging 20. Now, today, this season, it's 43 players currently averaging 20 plus points a game. And if I ain't mistaken, I want to say Brad Beal averaging 30. Somebody averaging 30. Either way, 43 players averaging 20 points per game, more than double what it was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And 10 years ago, those were like the last remnants of like real tough defense. Like those were like the last bits of that. And so now it didn't kind of fizzle out. And guys have gone from being great defenders to being great scorers. Like back in the days of like the early 2000s, it was like you took pride in being a great defender. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
there were great defenders that took pride in that. Ron Artest, not Mike Conley, Tony Allen,
I was just gonna say
uh,
him. Oh my God.
guys of that, yeah, guys of that nature, like that took pride in that. Nowadays, how many guys in the league that is just like, man, he take pride in his defense? Pat Beverly, Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there aren't many guys now that take pride in being great defenders. Their pride is more in scoring the ball, shooting the ball, dunking on people, like finishing. The pride is on the offensive side now. And the rules have allowed that. That's where it comes from. Back when I can handshake you, I'm on Tony Allen, I can't shoot. Oh, what? Okay, I can't shoot. But you ain't gonna shoot when we get on this other end. You're not
Yep.
getting by me. Like when you gotta come down here too, and you
Yep.
better not touch the ball, or you gonna be in a Tony Allen version of hell. It's
Yep.
like it's one of those things. And so I just think rules have made that the wave. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to take pride in my defense, and now it's like offensive league. Like the league is built offense. Like and like you said, the roster changes have helped with that somewhat because bigs are shooting more now. But I think that also stems from the rule changes because it's like, okay, we got guys like Damian Lillard and stuff like that. Shoot, Kobe. We go back to Kobe. Kobe is a little bit older player. Obviously, he'd been retired for some years and may he rest in peace. But as he transitioned, he was part of the transition from older days, the older generations in the 90s. He was like, he came in right on the tail end of that and played on into the 2010s. And so even guys like Kobe, you can see him in that transition, like call for a screen to get the bid to come up, stuff like that. I heard
Mhm.
Damian Lillard say this one time. He said you can see young players, young guards in the league sometimes just call for a screen. Don't care who says. Just like come screen me, and they don't think about the who's gonna be on the switch or who's on that.
Yep.
And like that's one of the things you got to learn being in the league. And he was like, if I'm playing the Warriors, I'm not calling for the screen for Draymond to switch off of me. I know Draymond's a pretty good defender. He can kind of move his feet, might be able to stay in front of me, make it tough for me. I'm gonna call for the screen for whoever Andrew Bogut is guard. Maybe Bogut come guard.
Yep.
His feet are slow. He can't keep up. He gonna be killed. Stuff like that. Like me knowing that you like, hey, obviously if I got Shaquille O'Neal like even back in the 90s, if I get to switch off on Shaq, you think Shaq just gonna let you blow by him? No, he gonna extend him arms. No, he got his wingspan gonna be over 7 feet. You're not just gonna blow by him. You might be able to lull him to sleep a little bit and then use your quickness or something, but you're not just gonna like one dribble get by. You know what I'm saying? So that's all. I think that all stems from the rule changes. It's like, okay, guys can't handshake me. Guys not taking pride in that defense no more. It's all about this offense. It's all about getting a bucket. And I can get a bucket. I'm gonna do it every day, all day. That's what guys look at it now. It's like, oh, it can't nobody really stop me. If you're not putting your hands on me, you can't really stop me. For a lot of guys, a lot of these guys too quick or too shifty. nowadays. That's a lot of guys in the league now. A lot of guys quick, a lot of guys shifty. And so a lot more than it was in the 80s, a lot more than it was in the 90s, despite what people might want to believe. That people want to believe how great the 80s and 90s were. But in reality, like guys were not as skilled as they are now. Like that's just the evolution of things. And so we put that emphasis on being able to dribble, on being able to shoot, on being able to dunk on somebody. And so that's just what it is now. And that I feel like that mostly stems from those rule changes.
All right, so
But
the
that'll be
last
my
point,
last point.
yeah. So the last point I kind of wanted to bring up and talk about was how the business half of the NBA came into play with this. So, like we said before, Magic and Bird were the initial kind of birth that really gave the league their first start. You always have somebody that's first, but it's rarely the first is going to be the greatest or the one that takes that next step. So the birth of the league was Dr. J. What really elevated it during that time was Magic and Bird that solidified them and brought them to another level. So from there, Bird and Magic couldn't do it on their own. They needed something else to take them to that next step. Out the blue from 92, after 92 Dream Team, Jordan comes into play, right? So
right.
After that, he was the poster child, the baby of David Stern that he loved and protected. So from then, you started to see the league shift from the love of a team to love of a player. Because growing up 90s and before, you rock with a team, and that was it. I don't care who your favorite player is. You might say this person's my favorite player, but this is my favorite team. So you rock with that team to do or die. So you growing up in the 80s, right. you were either Celtics or you were Lakers. Only two options that most people had would have been the 76ers and I just lost it. 76ers or
the Knicks.
Knicks. I lost it like 3 times in that thought. So the Knicks. If one of those two, if one of those two weren't playing, you either pulled for the Lakers or you pulled for the Celtics. Only 2 options. So you ride out for your team, but because the Celtics just busted your head in the Eastern Conference Finals, you either want like Alabama, Auburn down here. Some Auburn fans are like, well, we don't have a chance to compete, so I'm gonna root for home team, so I'm gonna go Alabama. Perfectly fine. I get that. Some people are so so Auburn. I don't care what happens. As long as Alabama does not win, I'm good. Same thing on the other side of Alabama.
That's how some people feel.
Some people are so Alabama, they bleed crimson and white. So as long as Auburn doesn't win, I'm solid. I don't care who it is. It can be Clemson, it can be USC, it can be Florida, it can be Tennessee. As long as Auburn Tigers do not win a championship, I'm fine. So the same thing in the NBA. I have my team, I'm ride or die. But it started to shift in the 90s to where we care less about team and more about player. It became my favorite player. And I think another part of that played a role with that too is start seeing players shift teams a lot more. There was no Reggie Miller staying on one team for 20 years, John Stockton staying on one team for 20 years. A lot of love to Tim Duncan, Dirk, and Kobe for staying there for either 20 years or close to 20 years, but that's not happening as much anymore. I don't think we will see that as much. And so with the branding shifting from team to player, you start seeing the focus on an individual player happen more. The way the focus on an individual player is to let the offense shine versus the defense. By me letting the offense shine, like you said, I have to change the rules to say, Jordan cannot be as great as he can by us seeing him getting knocked out every single game by the Pistons. So I changed the rules to there so Jordan can do his acrobatic layups and dunks. That gave birth to Kobe doing his thing, Penny doing his thing, Grant Hill doing his thing, to where the players started to shine more. So from there, that birth from Kobe, T-Mac, Vince Carter, AI, that era birthed where we are now with the wings and guards and skills. Gilbert Arenas, Ray Allen, that birthed where we are now, where the skills at an all-time high, to a certain extent, to get skills at an all-time high where we're not seeing the same thing we saw in the 80s and early 90s. So the last question I'm gonna ask you is which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the rule change happen that caused the shift in focus of player, which changed the mid-range games, how we see it? Or did the players change to make the rules happen that birthed the change in the mid-range? So what's the chicken or the egg here?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you were like, Mike can't be as great as we know he can be with the Pistons knocking him out the air every time. And I think that was like the catalyst. You know what I'm saying? And so the fun thing about basketball, like the basketball guys have always given us the man. It's just funny how it happens. The man always appears right on time. Bro. And so, like, you know, we had Wilt, then we had Wilt and Bill Russell, then we had Dr. J. Then right after Dr. J on the decline, we get Magic and Bird. Right, as soon as Magic and Bird get on the decline, we get Mike. As soon as Mike get on the decline, we get Kobe. As soon as Kobe get on the decline, well, really like in the middle of Kobe prime, but we get LeBron. Mm-hmm. And now here we are with LeBron. We don't know who the next man gonna be. The league really trying to figure it out right now. They think it's gonna be Zion. They think it might be Luka. They think it might be Giannis, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So the league always delivers that guy. So Magic and Bird get delivered to the league. And they play styles fit the league because, you know, they're born into it, you know. Mm-hmm. They play styles fit exactly what's going on. Bird, not very athletic. Magic, not very athletic. You know, can run. Not really high flyers, not really dunkers, nothing like that. Not shooters. Bird can shoot the peel out the ball. I'm not saying that. But Magic, not really a shooter. He flashy, facilitate. Bird, grimy, good defense. It just, they fit where they were. Bird fit Boston. Magic fit LA. It's just funny how the basketball guys does that for the game of basketball. It just happens in that way perfectly. It makes like a perfect story.
Poetic justice.
But then, poet exactly what it is. But then we get Mike. The basketball guys deliver us Mike Jordan, and it's like Mike's something we ain't never seen before. All the greats say that we ain't never seen nobody like Mike. It's like Mike flow. It's like Mike walking on air. I never seen nobody jump like Mike. Mike. Black Jesus posing as Michael Jordan, all types of crazy stuff. Yeah. Mike was something we had never seen before. So now when Mike comes, the retaliation issue, the Pistons like, oh, we not finna just let him dunk all over us, finesse all over us, jump past everybody. We finna not butt out there. Like, we not finna just let him do that to us or regularly. We in the same conference. We're not getting to the finals without him. So the Pistons know they like, all right, we can't beat him scoring the ball, but we can beat him. Like we gonna beat him up. Like that's all we gonna have on. Mm-hmm. None of us are as athletic. None of us can jump as high. None of that. But we ain't got to be athletic to take him out. Like we won't let him kill us, basically. And you know, Dave Stern and the rest of the league, you know, the powers that be, they saw that and they was like, oh no. We cannot afford for them to kill Mike. Mike might get hurt. Like Mike might just, you know, Mike did, you know, had an ad in the paper on. I don't know if you can remember or not, but Mike did have an ad in the paper. Like they think that he was saying that the Pistons, he felt like the Pistons had it out for him, trying to injure him. The league saw that, they was like, oh no, this is the man right now. He better than anybody on that team. Like, you know, everybody got their favorite sibling. I mean, that every parent got their favorite kid, or that teacher got their favorite student. It's like, I'm gonna take his side over your side because you done got in trouble a couple times.
Yeah.
So the league protected Mike. They like, okay, flagrant fouls. Okay, we finna get rid of handshaking was still a thing for a while. All right, flagrant fouls. You hit Mike, you hit anybody too hard or knock anybody out the air, do anything a little too dangerous, flagrant, there's gonna be 2 free throws in possession, so you really lose on the back end. And if you do it twice, you out of here. Or if we consider it dangerous, you'll be out of here in the first. And so now what we get? Space Jam. We get Mike flying through the air, up and under people, dunking on people, finessing everything in the air. And I love Mike game. Mike got one of the most beautiful layup packages I ever seen. I love watching Michael Jordan highlights.
Nasty.
But let's just be real. The league knew he could do that. He was the man, but the the other players, their competitive spirit wasn't just gonna let him have that. You know what I'm saying? They knew. Look at the stuff that the greats were saying about Mike. They knew how great Mike was, but at the same time, you know, the guys like the Pistons and stuff, they had to look at it like, hey, none of us are him. He is something different. He an alien on the way from, but that don't mean he can't be beat. And that's how they was doing it, and the league had to put a stop to that. And you hear the Wilt Chamberlain story where he said, what Wilt Chamberlain told Michael Jordan that he was the greatest basketballer of all time because they made rules so he couldn't dominate, but they made rules so Mike could.
Yeah.
So that, as much as we kind of talk about Wilt Chamberlain, like, who is he playing against? He wasn't really playing against nobody. That is facts. The league made it illegal for him to dunk. They made him where he couldn't stand in the paint all day, stuff like that. It's like they made rules so Wilt could not kill the other team. And he still was killing them. And so they made rules for Mike to go. Like, all right, Mike, we need you to still do something. And so, yeah, I think that concept of being marketable did kind of breed that rule change. And I think they thought the same thing probably for Kobe, and I think they think the same thing for Bron now. That's why you see guys kind of complaining about getting fouls and stuff like Bron do. Like people bring that up on Bron a lot, but he too, they're not giving him fouls because he's so big. So I think that's just one of them things, man. Like the league got to protect their best interest. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that in the business aspect, but yeah, what it is.
Okay, so with that, I kind of want to go to, like you said, like I'm learning business, right? And so within business, you want to always protect your most valuable asset. So at the time, the most valuable asset was Jordan. What Jordan brought to the game was another level of talent. With his level of talent plus his level of skill, the league looked at it and said, wow, we need to change the rules so we can let this talent and skill flourish more. So what their mindset became, okay, let's let this skill be more appealing. How is the offense not being able to thrive? Head checking, these hard fouls, and mucking up the game. So that shifted the game to being more about skill. That's when you started seeing you didn't start seeing it more, but you started seeing a very small percentage of shift from the bad boys Pistons to more skill, right? You really didn't see that jump until the late 90s, early 2000s of more skill being the thing. The dunk contest came a whole nother level. So you're going from that to where we are now with Steph Curry, Dame, Kyrie dominating, right? Because the league shifted the attention from brute force and physicality to skill. The reason they shifted that because you started seeing, like you said before, you heard so many guys take pride on defense. Well, the league put more attention on the best players are skilled players, the best players are great on offense. So the offensive mindedness shifted the way players thought. The way players thought is, okay, I need to shoot more threes because the league is they're giving a platform for us to shoot threes more. You're not glamorized for the mid-range as much anymore. You're glamorized for threes. Okay, if I'm not a three-point shooter, what else can I do? I can make acrobatic dunks and layups. The mid-range game is not as sexy. That's why kids today aren't caring as much about the mid-range. You get praised and highlight mixtapes for crossing somebody up for a three, crossing somebody up and going in for a Kyrie layup. That's all you get. Not too often you're gonna see a mid-range pull-up now. So it went from the mid-range, it went from highlight tapes of just showing great basketball, and that's how players just played, to now I'm playing my game for the highlight mixtape. So all you're gonna see in my game now is crossovers, is a three-point shot, is the layups. Nowhere in there we see players take a mid-range shot. And so I think the birth of Jordan causing the shift in rules. I think, in my opinion, I think the egg, which whatever came, I don't know how chicken and egg goes, but I think what came first was Jordan bringing the skill that shifted and birthed the rule change that shifted to where we are now, that caused the three-point shot and layup to be more dominant in the mid-range. So now the birth of Jordan's skill and his game shifted the league mindset and rules to where we need to make sure skill still appeals, and we're able to have the offense and the skill shine rather than having the dirty muck 'em up bad boys Pistons game. So that gave birth to Steph Curry. And like I said before, I'm seeing 1 7-footer and one shot blocker. That gives me more room to operate now with a 4 out, 1 in pick and roll. So I think that birthed the depth of the mid range rather than the rule change. I think the player caused the rule change and the rule change causing the players, if that makes sense. So that's how I stand on it.
I kind of feel that, man. But like you said, we got to market the best player. The league had to protect Mike. The rule changes. I think the rule changes just benefited that offense. Like defenders, Mike. We don't remember Mike for no defense. Remember the dunks flying through the air, the flails. He had the mid range game too. But that's what we remember. And like I said, Mike gave. Mike is like much as we want to say about guys basing their game on Kobe. We all know Kobe based his game on Mike, and so therefore Mike ain't nothing but the grandfather of all these guys we seeing now. And Kobe, their father. They all Kobe's sons, but Mike is the grandfather. And so it's just one of them things. The rules was meant for Mike to shine, and his light shine on the rest of the league. It gave way to what we have now. So I attribute a lot of that to like you said, the rule changes of the league to protect their business interests, to protect the guy. Like this the man. Like I said, this is the man. We know he the man. We're not gonna let y'all just keep beating him up. We need him to do him and be who he is for us to get as much out of him as we can. Now, if that means Michael Jordan wins 6 championships in 8 years, then that's just what that means. But we need that. That's what David Stern saw when he said when them Pistons took Mike out them 2 years and Mike made that ad in the paper. I know there was a phone call somewhere where David Stern said, "Hey, Mike kind of right.
Yep.
We need to do something about it." And so, like I said, Mike ain't nothing but the grandfather of the guys we see now. Think of the guys was like, Kobe was my favorite player. I based my game on Kobe, and Kobe ain't nothing but like the reincarnation of Michael Jordan. We all know this. We all know Kobe is just Michael Jordan part 2. And Kobe tell you how much he based the game off Mike, all that. And so Mike the godfather of basketball is all I'm trying to say. For the guys we got now, he their grandfather.
And I say it's crazy for that because you look at Jordan, like prime Jordan when he was winning, his game was based off of mid-range. His game was based off either I'm posting up mid-range and I'm going to my dream shake shimmies and all that stuff, or I'm catching out the triangle and I'm mid-post or high post at the elbow area. I'm going to work there. But now in today's game, kids aren't taking that. Like you said, he's the grandfather, Kobe's the father. Like Kobe's nothing but the most skilled Jordan ever. Jordan had the talent, he was more athletic, but Kobe came with the skill. Like his skill killed anybody else because he had to. Jordan was just more athletic, so whatever he lacked in skill, his talent and his finesse, his physical makeup made up for whatever he lacked in skill. Kobe was a little bit less athletic, so he had to be more skilled to get on that level. And so it's crazy that those two guys birthed the game that we have now, and players aren't taking the mid-range from them. Now, the best scorers in the game are, but the youth today aren't taking that. And I think some of that goes back to Steph Curry, like how we started the episode with what Steph Curry is the birth of the mid-range being, not the mid-range, the three-point being the more accepted shot and the more praised shot. So I still think that the players and the construction of the roster gave way to the mid-range being more frowned upon than did the rules, man. But you gave some really good points, man. It made me think for a second, but I still got to go with the players and GMs making up the way the game is now, man. So Any last words, man, before we close it out?
Protect your business interests, people. You see what the league is now. Hey, we got Magic and Bird to thank, and then we got Mike. So if the league ain't teach us nothing, protect your business interests. I don't care what it may be or what you got to do, what rules you got to change. But if you got something that gonna make you money legally, I should say, let me throw that in there.
Yeah.
Do it the right way, but protect your business interests because the basketball is one of the most popular sports in the world right now. And so we got Mike to thank for that. So that'd be my last 2 cents.
Yeah, I'll say, kids, work on your mid-range shot. It's not dead. Work on the mid post. Work on 1 and 2 dribble pull-ups, and study the game, man. It won't hurt. It won't hurt, and it'll help you more. You think it will hurt you to go back and do your history and your research on the game, because knowing where you came from can help you from making the same mistakes from the past, and it can help you see the future and elevation of where you can go. And so do your research, man, and just know where you came from, man, and just know where the game started and where it birthed from. And that can help you see, or at least be able to be a part of the new wave when it comes. So work on the mid-range, man. All my players do that. I have my players do that regardless. Like, I don't care how great of a three-point shooter you are. We work on the mid-range. So I think it was a good episode, man. We got a nice little discussion going. But I don't want this conversation and this discussion and this debate to end here. I need you listeners to help us out, man. So Nelson thinks it's the rules. I think it's the GMs and the players that really force the mid-range to, be less appealing. So I want y'all opinion on this, man. Let us know what do you think caused the shift more? Was it the rules like Nelson said, or was the GMs and the players like I'm saying? Or if you have another theory, another concept that we didn't mention and talk about that, was a factor in how the game is being played now, I'd love to hear it. So my YouTubers, go ahead and drop a comment below. Let us know what you think happened. Go ahead and follow us on social media and hit us up and let us know what you think, man. You can follow Nelson on Twitter at NellyH34. Follow him on Facebook at Nelson Haskin. Follow me at wherever social media is present, because I'm trying to do a little bit of everything. So follow me at BeBall Jones, BE Ball Jones, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to this YouTube page. You got, like I said, podcasts coming out every week, man. So we're gonna try to do more debates and stuff as well, because this is a nice conversation to have. The barbershop talk is always something nice to have, just for kicks and, getting our thoughts off and stuff. So appreciate you guys listening in, man. Episode 10. So it's a good one. I think I'm right. So that's all that matters at the end of the day. So yeah, man. Appreciate you listening. Subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts at, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever, man. We exposed to everything. So keep listening in to us and watch the growth, man.